It's time to hand the Islanders their report card on the 2022 NHL Draft. So how good or bad did they do? Hit that subscribe button, don't miss a video. Also go to Twitter, follow at TLOMitch, that's me. Don't miss any breaking information about Islanders prospects I've yet to cover on the channel. I realize I'm wearing a hat today, and I'm only doing that because what's under the hat looks absolutely... So I've put the deckhands embroidered hat on. But we're not here to talk about what I'm putting on my head. We're here to talk about the NHL Draft and how good or bad the Islanders did at the 2022 NHL Draft. And before we get to just handing out a grade, I figured we'd talk about who they took, because that's kind of important into establishing what kind of grade they got. So the Islanders had 5 picks on the day. They didn't make any selections in the first round. You probably already know that. If you want my thoughts on that trade for the 13th overall pick, or trading away that 13th overall pick, it's right there. So go to that video. You can hear everything I have to say on the subject. Like I said, they made 5 picks on the day. In the second round, they took Swedish defenseman Calle Odelius. In the third round, they took youngster Quinn Finley. In round 4, they took defenseman Isaiah George out of the London Knights. Round 5, they took Matthew Maggio from the Windsor Spitfires. And in round 6, they took Kamloops Blazers Dalen Kufler. Kufler? I don't know if I pronounced that right. Now that we know their names, let's figure out a little bit more about them. Specifically, did the Islanders pull in any NHL caliber players? Maybe not today, but eventually. That's going to be the big thing for the Islanders. Did they pull anyone out of this draft that could eventually hit the NHL level? Starting with the second round pick, Calle Odelius, can he hit the NHL level at some point? Remember, not just today, at some point. Yes. Absolutely, this guy could make the NHL level, should make the NHL level at some point. I'm not going to say how soon or how far away it is, because he's been in the prospect pool for like a whole 20 seconds, but I project that he's going to make the NHL at some point. What he's got going for him is skating. His skating is amazing. It's not that to say that he's the fastest skater out there. He's got plenty of speed, but it's that combined with his edge work, just all of it, explosiveness, lateral, his movement, just all of it, his stride, everything is perfect. His skating is perfection. It's NHL caliber already. Out of the box, NHL caliber skater out of Calle Odelius. And then you add some strong defensive play, some really good transition skills, and you start to see okay, well, there's enough here to already see NHL level player. What else can he learn? Well, his defense isn't perfect, but there isn't a single player in this draft that's going to jump to the NHL with perfect defense. They just don't exist. He needs to learn how to play better defense, as does everyone else in this draft. He also needs to learn how to be a little bit more offensive. He's got a little bit more, but I think he needs a little bit more confidence offensively, and that will come in time. But I think we have to realize that this guy's not going to light the lamp up at the NHL level when he gets there. And that's perfectly okay. Look, you don't ask Adam Pelech to put up 40, 50 points on the year. That's just not his game. You ask him to stop the guys who are going to put up 40, 50, 60, 70, 80 points in a year. That's what he does, Adam Pelech that is, and that's probably what Calle Odelius will do when he gets to the NHL level. The third round pick, Quinn Finley. Can he be an NHL player? Shrug emoji, because he's young, man. I know all of these guys are young because they're all teenagers. Some of them are maybe 20-year-olds. But this guy's 17 today. He won't turn 18 until August. So I'm not going to say NHL future. He's got some interesting skill sets. His puck skills are good. His offensive instincts are good. But he's got a lot more to work out, specifically just in terms of his frame. He's not very big. But that happens with 17-year-olds, right? At 17, I was a noodle. I'm a noodle now. Imagine the noodle I was then. So there's a lot to like here, but there's a lot to build on for this guy who's going to the University of Wisconsin next year. The fourth round pick, Isaiah George. Could he hit the NHL? Probably. I'm not as certain as with Calle Odelius, but this guy could make the NHL level. Excellent skating, good offensive awareness, needs better defensive skills, but again, who doesn't? Probably needs to fill in a little bit more, but again, who doesn't at this level? He's got some really, really, really good skills. Probably should have gone a lot earlier in the draft, so when it comes to the Islanders, this might be a guy you say, we were lucky to get him where we got him. But there's a lot to like here with Isaiah George. Honestly, there's really a lot to like. I think he's going to make the NHL level. at some point. Again, I'm not going to talk about ceiling or floor or whatever, because that doesn't necessarily matter right now. Can he be an NHL player? Yes, he can be. 5th rounder Matthew Maggio. There's a lot to like with this kid, but is there an NHLer there? Maybe. There's a lot to like. Again, like his offensive skills are good, his skating is good, so on and so forth, but like defense not necessarily there. The fact that he's 19 years old, going to be 20 this year, is something to think about. It's not a knock, but it's something to think about. He put up 85 points in 66 games though last year as a 19-year-old, right? Started the year as an 18-year-old, became 19 in November, so that's pretty cool to see. What I really like is that 2 years ago, when there was no season for the OHL, he played in Sweden. He went to Sweden, played in the Hockey Etan League, put up 11 points in 19 games as a 17, 18-year-old. That's a pro league, mind you, right? That is a pro league. So there's a lot to like here for this kid, and I'm not going to say it's a bad pick by the Islanders, because none of these guys are bad, but maybe they could have gone someone a little bit younger that they could have developed and taken less of a dart, if you will, with Matthew Maggio. But I still like him. When I look at my top 10 for prospects based on NHLE, he's in there, and that's something to consider. The last player they selected was Dalen Quelfer. I don't know if I pronounced that right. Playing for Kamloops. This one I think was a little bit of a stretch. I don't think he was on anyone's boards. He certainly wasn't on someone that I had even thought about. 59 points in 65 games as an over-8. Well, not necessarily an overager. He's born in February, so not. But, you know, he's 20 years old now. And again, only had 59 points in 65 games at the OHL level. Put up 17 points in 17 playoff games for Kamloops, so that's pretty cool. But the rise was maybe not meteoric, but he had 11 points in 18 games a year prior. So not even a point per game player, not even a point per game player now. So like not really trending in the right direction. I don't really know about this pick. I don't think that there's an NHL potential here, but I hope to be proven wrong. So what kind of grade do they get? You can say like, I wish they'd taken this guy instead of that guy. I kind of wish they'd taken a goalie. I'd said that a few times leading up to the draft. They didn't. So it is what it is. So what kind of grade do I give them? Well, I'm going to give them a B, because I think the guys they brought in are pretty good. There's some questions here and there. Like, I don't know about taking Quinn Finley in the 3rd round. I'm not really sure why they took their 6th round pick at all. But, you know, those guys could still impress. There's room for either one of those guys to do something with that. I'm also giving them B because they brought in 2 probable NHLers eventually, and they don't even have a 1st round pick. Some draft classes don't have NHLers in them at all. And so the fact that they were able to do that likely without a 1st round pick is excellent. Now I wanted to add this graph to this discussion. I saw A Voltage tweet it out and I liked it immediately. And you can see why. So this is a graph from CM Hockey that states the draft capital compared to decision-making value added per team. So what this means is that how much value did each team bring in based off of where they were picking. So you're not going to be like, oh, you got a C- because you didn't bring in a top end player. Well, you didn't have a, top end pick, if you will. So you shouldn't expect that. And the Islanders fare pretty darn well. They made some great decisions based off of limited opportunities. You can see them right there next to the Golden Knights. So there's some good things to like out of this draft class. I really like Kaliodelius. That is a great pickup for the Islanders. We'll see about the rest. I like Isaiah George as well. So the defenseman already thumbs up. The fact that they got a really young guy is cool because we're going to have extra time to see this guy grow. Like, he's going into the NCAA next year. He's not coming out of there for 3 years, but he's still going to be pretty young coming out of that. So I kind of like that pick for the Islanders. But we'll see. I still give it a B. I'm not giving it an A plus or anything like that. It's definitely a B, and that's okay. Thank you for following. Thank you for watching. Next time I won't have a hat on unless you really want to see it more, although it kind of does damage to my head. It's a little tight. But again, thank you for watching. Thank you for following. If you have not hit that subscribe button, join the 800 plus, that's insane to say, that have decided to do so. And if you do that and are about to, thank you, thank you, thank you.